I have long been fascinated by the mysteries of the world, but none have consumed me like the persistent rumors of the Skaven. Many of my esteemed colleagues dismiss the notion as myth or worse, a fevered delusion brought about by too many nights in damp libraries. But I know better. I have spent decades sifting through the detritus of history, pulling truths from the filth where others see only superstition. The Skaven are no mere fable. Even now, as I sit in my dimly lit study, the fire flickering weakly in its hearth, I feel the weight of their presence. The very air is thick, stagnant, as if waiting. Shadows seem to gather in the corners of the room, stretching and shifting, but perhaps that is merely my exhaustion, my mind playing tricks upon itself. It began, as so many of these tales do, with a whisper, a low, insidious hum that gnawed at the edges of my mind. I had heard of them before, of course. Who hasn't? Stories passed down from tavern drunks or muttered by superstitious peasants. Rats, they say. Rats the size of men, walking on two legs, hiding beneath the cities of the Empire, plotting the downfall of mankind. I remember the night clearly. I had been sitting at a tavern with an old acquaintance, Magister Friedrich, a man of considerable intellect, though tethered to the rigid views of the colleges of magic. He scoffed when I mentioned the Skaven. "Ludolf, my friend, surely you don't believe in children's tales," he had said, swirling his wine lazily. "Rats that build underground empires. How many times must I remind you that we are men of science?" But even as he laughed, I could see a flicker of doubt in his eyes. There are few things that unsettle a scholar more than a truth they cannot quantify. And it was in that moment that I knew I had to uncover the truth for myself. It was several weeks later that the letter arrived. No seal, no indication of sender. Only a crumpled, discolored piece of parchment shoved beneath my study door in the dead of night. I had been burning the midnight oil, studying a particularly obscure text on mutations within the northern wastes, when I noticed the envelope. My hands trembled as I opened it, though I did not know why. The message within was brief, barely legible, scrawled in a chaotic hand. "If you seek truth, look below. Beware the scratching." I must confess that at the time I nearly dismissed it. A prank, surely, but something about those words gnawed at me, much like the whispers of the Skaven themselves. It was as though they had reached into my mind and found my deepest fear, the fear of being wrong. The fear that something truly monstrous lies beneath the feet of mankind, unnoticed, unchallenged, waiting for the right moment to strike. For days, I could not shake the feeling that I was being watched. It was subtle at first, a fleeting sensation as if eyes tracked my every movement. Then came the scratching. It began late at night, a faint, almost imperceptible sound, like nails dragging against stone, coming from the walls. At first, I attributed it to my imagination. After all, this was Altdorf, a city built on old foundations. Rats are common. I would hear them scurrying through the walls, gnawing at the wood, scratching at the baseboards, but this was different. The sound was too deliberate, too persistent, as though something intelligent were just beyond my vision, waiting to make itself known. Each night, the scratching grew louder, closer. I would sit at my desk, quill in hand, pretending to work, but in truth I was listening. Always listening. It was as if the shadows themselves were trying to communicate, to tell me something I was not yet ready to understand. I began digging deeper into the records. In secret, of course. One does not openly discuss the Skaven within the Empire without attracting the wrong kind of attention. I found references in the strangest of places, half-burnt scrolls, obscure footnotes in imperial history, always vague, always incomplete. A plague here, a missing colony there, but never concrete, never enough for proof. It was then that I came across an ancient manuscript, locked away in the vaults of the great library, labeled simply Liber Bubonicus. The text was faded, the words barely legible, but it spoke of a time long before the Empire, when a race of rat men rose from the depths of the earth after the fall of Morsleeb, the Chaos Moon. These creatures, described as foul and twisted by warpstone, were said to live in sprawling underground cities, their society built on treachery and deceit. As I read, the fire in the hearth dimmed, casting the room into a cold darkness. My breath came shallow, and the scratching, oh, how the scratching grew louder, as if the walls themselves were alive with the movement of tiny, clawed feet. I tried to focus, to dismiss it as nothing more than rats, but the words in the manuscript echoed in my mind. The Under-Empire thrives in shadow, unseen, untouchable, but ever-growing. Beware the Skaven, for they are legion, and they are many. I stood abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor, the parchment falling from my hands. I could feel it now, the truth pressing in on me. The Skaven were real. The question was not if, but how long they had been hiding beneath our feet. As I stood there, breath quickened and heart pounding, a sudden, sharp noise pierced the stillness, a crash from the cellar below. My mind raced, trying to grasp for logic. Surely it was nothing more than another rat, perhaps dislodging some loose stones. But in that moment I knew. I knew I had to go down there.